Hey, what's going on, guys? It's FPL Yusuf here, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys my final team selection ahead of the Game Week 7 deadline on Friday. In this video, we're going to cover some key questions surrounding this coming game week. We'll take a look at some Defcon players. We'll take a look at some goals and clean sheet odds. Of course, I will show you guys what my team is looking like for this game week deadline and also what I'm planning to do with my transfers as well. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as always, let's just jump straight into it. Okay, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today on my YouTube channel for another video. Like I said, we're going to start this video off with some key questions for the upcoming Game Week 7. The first one up is, which Arsenal asset should we be targeting? Now, I deliberately waited till after Arsenal played their Champions League game against Olympiacos just to do this video, just in case any injury news come out, if we heard anything about different players, also to see what the team lineup was looking like. So up first, if I was on wildcard this week, Gabriel would be my first one. Now, it's worth me saying that he did come off injured yesterday, so we're not sure how bad that's going to be. I'm not too sure if he's going to be playing this weekend as well. So for all of us who have Gabriel, I think we need to make sure that we've got a playing, substitute as our first sub who we're happy to start, because I think that there is a chance that he could not be playing this weekend. Obviously, it's West Ham at home. You'd imagine Arsenal will be able to get through it with a centre-back pairing of Saliba and Mosquera, excuse me. Also, there's international break straight after this, so that's another 2 weeks for him to rest. So I don't really see him being risked. And if I'm being honest with you, if I had just one free transfer this week, I probably wouldn't be going to Gabriel. Now, it's worth probably waiting until tomorrow, being Friday, so we hear Arteta's press conference. But if I was on wildcard, Gabriel would still be the best Arsenal asset to buy, in my opinion. If I had only one free transfer, I'd probably hold off on making that transfer to him for this week and just look to reassess after the international break, because I don't know if he's going to be risked this week. So, yeah, like I said, Gabriel will still be number one, but it depends on your circumstances. I've got David Raya in at number 2. Now, he was fantastic yesterday. Again, I think a lot of people are going to be doubled up on the Arsenal defence just because the Arsenal attack, there's a lot of options there. It's a little bit uncertain who's going to play where, how many minutes they're going to get, who's on penalties. A lot of questions surrounding them, which we're going to come on to in a second. But for me, David Raya, number 2, you know he's going to play every minute if he's fit. He's got a very good chance of getting clean sheets. I think the only thing with him is that there's obviously not really that many chances of save points because Arsenal's defence are so good. They don't really let up that many shots. But if you're looking for someone just to set and forget, someone just to put in there who, is going to get you clean sheets more often than not, then he's an absolute wonderful choice. And like I said, I think a lot of people are going to be doubled up on Arsenal's defence. So in order just to kind of hold some sort of rank in terms of the Arsenal defence, I think he's a viable option to pick. Now, in at number 3, I've got Timber and Saliba. Now, I do think that there is opportunities for them to be rotated over the next few weeks. We saw it last week with Saliba. He didn't start the game against Newcastle. Timber, obviously did get a rest in the week against Olympiacos, which kind of maybe shows me that he will be the starting choice in the Premier League. But you just never know with Arteta, especially as we start to get into the winter months, the Christmas fixtures. There's a lot of changes there. Now, if I knew that Calafiori and Timber were guaranteed starters for 90 minutes, they would be fantastic. But the other thing is they get pulled off about the 70th minute sometimes, which is never a good thing if you're trying to go for bonus points as well. So I would just say on the side of caution, but I do think that investing into the Arsenal defence is just a good thing. I do think that the back four of Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori long term is Arsenal's best back four. And then number 4, I've got Gyökeres and Saka. This is a real toss-up of which one you want to go for. So Gyökeres did play 90 minutes again in the Champions League. Bukayo Saka did start on the bench. He came on, did get his goal though on the left-hand side, it's worth me saying. We're still not sure who's on penalties. I would still imagine that it would be Gyökeres, but after what we saw against Newcastle, is there an outside chance that it's Bukayo Saka? Maybe. I think right now for me, like I said, I would be doubling up on the Arsenal defence. If you are on wild card or you're looking to get an Arsenal attacker in, I'd probably keep it as just one of the two of Gyökeres and Saka. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go for Gyökeres, just I think his minutes are maybe a little bit more nailed at the moment without Havertz. But Saka is still a viable option. He's probably a big differential this week as well. So definitely one to keep an eye out for. Right, on to Liverpool assets now. Which ones do we buy? Which do we sell? What's happening with them? So it is confirmed that Alisson will be out for this game, which means Mamardashvili will probably be starting this game. Now, Alisson obviously has this recurring thing where he does pick up injuries every now and then. So he's been very good over the last few weeks, which does concern me about Liverpool a little bit because obviously he's been keeping them in. Like if we saw the Crystal Palace game, the saves he was making in that game, if it wasn't for him, that could have been a 3-4-0 going into half-time. So, yeah, if you have Alisson, he will be ruled out of this game. He'll probably be back after the international break. It's a little bit more extended period, but for this game week, he's not going to be playing. Ekitike, we're not sure on yet. Now, there is opportunity for him to start this game if he is fit. I'm just not sure on the update with him yet, so we'll have to wait and see on that one as well. So I think Friday's press conferences will give us a lot of news about certain players from certain clubs, about how their fitness is, how their injuries is, and, can we get an idea if they're going to be playing on the weekend. Mo Salah did actually get a rest. I'm going to say rest with air quotes. Did he get dropped? Was it rest? I'm not too sure. He didn't start the game midweek for the Champions League. So that's something that we're not used to seeing with Mo Salah. Maybe they're just trying to manage his minutes because obviously, he's a year older now. Playing, sort of midweek weekend. It's a lot for anyone. So maybe it's just a thing of managing minutes. For me personally, I think if you are wildcard this week, I would get off him right now. Erling Haaland, who we're going to come on to later in the video, is just in fantastic form. And I think he's somebody that you 100% want to own. Like, whether Man City are playing good or bad is almost irrelevant with him because he's just scoring goals. So yeah, for me, if you own Salah, I'd probably come away from him. And then the other Liverpool assets in the midfield, the Gakpos, the Wirtzes, I just don't think you can go anywhere near them, even Isak to a certain extent, because you're just not sure in the minutes. We need to see a larger sample size over a couple of weeks, like from game week 8 until maybe like 10, 11, before Liverpool fixtures swing. We'll get a better idea of who's starting, who's looking like they're going to get regular minutes, and then we can make a better decision come that time. Is Bruno Fernandes a hold is my next question. Now, I think this all depends on whether or not he's on penalties. Now, he has missed 2 penalties this season. I can't personally see him coming off of them. Obviously, we've seen Brian Mbeumo miss for Man United in their cup shootout. Cunha's also missed for Manchester United. So I can't see him as the captain giving them up. But if he is not on penalties, then I think for me, he's an absolute sell. The only reason why I have him in there is because the penalties and his bonus points. That's it. If he keeps playing this sort of central midfield role, I do not want to be paying 9 million for a man who's going to be getting, 4 or 5 points a game without those penalties. Like, I'd rather just pay the money for a Caicedo or an Anderson. So yeah, Bruno Fernandes for me is definitely one to keep an eye on. But if he is off penalties, then for me, he's massive, massive sell because he's too much money for an asset who's just playing central midfield. And last up, the captaincy debate for this week. I don't think there's any debate really. I think Erling Haaland is just a complete standout. If you haven't got Erling Haaland, just go and get him. Even if it means selling Mo Salah for him, you can bring Salah back in at a later point. But the form Haaland's in now, you have to jump on it while he's hot. And I just don't think anyone else can compete for him. Maybe there's an outside chance for a Victor Gyökeres. They are playing against the West Ham side who, for the course of the season hasn't been great. But obviously they have a new manager now in Nuno. It might be a different, West Ham side. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, for me, Haaland is by far clear the best captaincy option. Is there an outside shout for Bruno Fernandes or Gyökeres? Maybe if you're looking to be very differential, but for me, no, Erling Haaland is that number one this week. Right, so let's take a look at some of the Defcon players who are still hitting it. Once again, Marcus Senesi is the only one in FPL now to go 6 from 6. He's hit Defcon every single week. He's averaging 13.5 a game, which is just insane numbers. And, Bournemouth actually do have chances of keeping clean sheets along the way as well. They are a decent defence, so his ceiling is very high. His price is obviously creeping up slowly but surely, but I think even if you still don't own him, just get him in now because he's just basically someone you can just leave in there and just hold for the long time. Even if they play in sort of, quote unquote, the bigger fixtures, Bournemouth are a decent side and they're not a side that necessarily usually get rolled over. So yeah, for me, if I had Senesi, I would just be keeping him in there. If you haven't got him, definitely go and buy him. Despite the price rises, just go and get him. Now, Mukiele coming in at 12.8 a game. 75% of his games have been Defcon. My only caveat to this is that there is potential that he maybe moves back to right back at some stage. Obviously, Dan Ballard is back on the bench. Is it going to happen? I'm not too sure. His centre-back partner, Alderate, is also on this list. Maybe a little bit more to the bottom, but he's also a goal threat from that. So one gives you, a little bit higher chance of Defcon in Mukiele, and the other one, Alderate, gives you Defcon, but also gives you upside of a corner. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be looking to bench boost sort of around game week 8, game week 12, them sort of fixtures there. And Sunderland actually have decent game weeks in those fixtures. So if you are looking to bench boost, just keep that in mind. Like if you're looking, as we said in the previous section, that obviously Gabriel might not be an option this week. So maybe you look to move to another defender. Just keep in mind, I'm not saying that you have to go for them, but I'm saying that for their price point as well, that they're very good value for money, but also they're very good for Defcon and also set pieces as well. So yeah, it's one to definitely keep an eye on this week. Van Dijk, Anderson, Botman, all these players that are sort of around the mid-range from 3 to like 6, 7. They're all averaging about 11 Defcons a game. I think depending on the fixture, most of them will probably rack up Defcon at some stage. They're all good in their own rights. Obviously, some are playing for a better defense like Newcastle this season. Botman has been, and Newcastle's defense have been fantastic. So I think he's someone that you probably would want to enter in at some stage. Obviously, Van Dijk is Liverpool's main man. Liverpool aren't defending that well at the moment, though, which is the only thing that sort of puts me off there. I think I'd probably wait till around game week 12 when Liverpool's fixtures swing before I get to Van Dijk. Obviously, Joachim Anderson is just a fine hold if you've got him. The Palace defenders as well, the Chris Richards of the world, Mark Gahey, Lacroix, they've all been racking up Defcon over the last few weeks as well. Not so much on this list because it's a list over the course of the season, but in recent times they are playing really well. So yeah, definitely there's definitely other options to look at. But I think the good thing about Defcon this year is that there's a whole different price range. Obviously, you've got Tarkowski being that premium expensive one who more often than not will get Defcon. He didn't get it last week, but I think he'll be top 3 come the end of the season, along with Senesi and, someone else for Defcon. So, yeah, I do like the addition of Defcon this year. It does give you a different variety of players to choose from, but also a different variety of price points. You've got all the way from the Sunderlands at 4 mil up to Tarkowski, who's 5.5. So, yeah, that's just a little list of kind of the players for Defcon at the moment. It's ranked in order, obviously, from Tom Hadley on Twitter. I'll leave a link to his page down below. But, yeah, it just ranks from number 1 all the way to number 10 so far this season, who's accumulated the most Defcon. Right, so let's take a look at some goals odds and some clean sheet odds as well. So we'll start with the goals first. Arsenal by far and away leading this with 2.56 against West Ham. Now, I think obviously this is a culmination of data from the start of the season, so we have to bear in mind it was a Graham Potter's West Ham that probably a lot of this data has come from. Nuno, I think, he's a lot more defensive minded. His teams are a lot more harder to beat. Now, it's not to say that Arsenal can't, because he brought Forest up the Emirates last year and Arsenal beat them 3-0 when they were flying. So obviously, you'd back Arsenal to win this game. If you got the likes of Gyökeres and Saka, like I said, maybe there was an outside chance if you're really behind, you're trying to play catch up. But for me, I probably wouldn't do that this week. I'd probably just have them in there as assets and just let them, hopefully, fingers crossed, get their goals this week. Surprisingly, Manchester United are in at number 2. Now, I say surprisingly because obviously we all know that they haven't been playing that well this season. But their stats for attacking wise have actually been very good. They're the team who's had the most shots in the league. They've had the most shots inside the box as well. So they are creating chances. It's just they are woeful at finishing at the moment. But obviously, Sesko did get his first goal last week. Maybe that's the confidence boost that he needs to sort of get up and running. Obviously, Bryan Mbeumo is still a good asset. Bruno dropped back a little bit. I'm not a massive fan of it. I prefer him in the number 10, but obviously Cunha's back now. So that front three, I think they will get chances in this game against Sunderland. But I don't know if I'd be pinning my hopes on Manchester United scoring. And I know that the odds are over 2 goals. I don't really know if I see that happening. So yeah, just take that one with a pinch of salt if you are looking for differential attackers this week. I think Man United, if I was going to invest in anyone, it'd probably be Bryan Mbeumo, because I just think he's best for minutes, and I think going forward, he's looked like the biggest threat for them. So he's probably the one that I'd be looking at. Man City up next with 2 goals. Obviously, Erling Haaland, we spoke about him. Get the captaincy on him this week. Man City will create chances in this game against Brentford. I do think Brentford will give as good as they get in certain aspects of the game, but I do think Man City should be sort of putting 2, 3, dare I say 4 past this Brentford side. So Erling Haaland on the captaincy. If you've got the likes of Doku, Foden, Reinders, get them in your team, get them playing, because I don't really see Pep changing that much at the moment. His bench is quite weak, and that starting 11 sort of seems to be pretty much most of the time the same 11 that plays every week. So yeah, I do like Manchester City this week. I like their odds, and like I said, if you've got captaincy, get it on Erling Haaland this week if you own him. Last up is a joint percentage. It's Newcastle and Aston Villa both at 1.84 goals. A few assets in there that you could be looking at if you're looking on wildcard for a differential. Obviously, Walter Mada from Newcastle, Ollie Watkins has finally found some kind of form for Aston Villa. I probably would hold off on the Aston Villa assets for the moment, just because it's only a 1 game that they've done this. So I probably wouldn't be jumping there that quick. But I think Newcastle definitely at both ends of the pitch are viable options. Obviously, Anthony Gordon scoring in the week as well. So yeah, I think Newcastle assets, Gordon, Walter Mada, both decent options. It's worth me saying that minutes wise, they're not guaranteed 90 minutes. So just bear that in mind before you bring them in. But I do like them as picks. And then the clean sheet odds is pretty much all the same teams, just in reverse order. So Arsenal, of course, best defense in the league, are number 1 with his 51% against West Ham at home. If you've got the double Arsenal defence, I think you'll be absolutely fine this week. Just keep them in there. They should be getting a clean sheet. Aston Villa, surprisingly, at number 2 with 42%. Now, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know whether or not I would be trusting this as face value. Now, they are playing Burnley. Burnley don't really score a lot of goals, but Jadon Anthony does score a lot of goals. So I think, for me personally, I probably wouldn't go for an Aston Villa defender this week. I probably wouldn't be looking that way. If you're on a free hit or wild card, I know there's some at decent price points, but I'd probably just completely stay away from them. Again, surprisingly, Man United at number 3. Sunderland have been very good this season, and Isidore, their striker, has had the second most shots inside the box with 10, I believe, behind Erling Haaland over the last few weeks. So I don't know, again, whether I'll be pinning my hopes on a Man United defender. If you own like a Dorgu, you still got him from the start of the season, or a Yoro, a Delict, whatever, then yeah, of course you play them. But I would just, if you're looking to transfer in this week and you're looking for a defender, I would not be going anywhere near Manchester United. I don't think that those odds are fair to their defence. And with the whole goalkeeper situation they've got going on, for me, I wouldn't be putting any faith in that Manchester United backline. Last up on this list, of course, is Newcastle. Now, this is a team that I would be backing with. Obviously, they are playing Nottingham Forest at home. They are statistically the second best defence in the league. So they've kept 4 clean sheets since the first 6. So it is a fantastic run of form from Newcastle. So yeah, I think if you are looking for a defensive transfer, despite the fact that Aston Villa, Man United ahead of them, I would probably be going straight to Newcastle anyway. The Dan Burns of the world. Maybe take a gamble on a Trippier, a Botman, someone like that. But there are nailed options in there, and I do like Newcastle's defence. Okay, so this is what my game week 7 team is looking like before we get to the deadline. Now, it's worth me saying I haven't made any transfers as of yet. I wanted to let the midweek games get out of the way first. So we'll start off in goal, Donnarumma against Brentford. When I bought him in a wildcard last week, the plan is just to keep him until game week 19. So he's going to be my goalkeeper every week, so not too much to say about him. Now, currently, at the time of recording this, I've got Gabriel and Saliba starting. Now, obviously, like I said about Gabriel, we're not too sure on how bad the injury is. So I'm going to get onto my transfers at the end of this part, but there is potential that I look to move a defender out to get a player, like a better playing defender in for this week, just in case Gabriel doesn't play. But right now they're both starting. Obviously, in an ideal world, I'd want both of them to be playing against West Ham because I think that there's a high chance of a clean sheet. Senesi's kicking us off on Friday with a game against Fulham at home. Now, Fulham don't actually score a lot of goals, and I'm not too sure that they have a fit number 9 at the moment. Obviously, we saw Raul Jimenez come off injured in the game last week. Rodrigo Muniz was always a doubt anyway. So I don't even know if they've got a number 9 playing right now, which is why I'm more than happy to get Senesi in there. Obviously, we know 6 out of 6 games so far. He's hit Defcon in all of them, and I think he's just got a very good chance at home to keep a clean sheet. Romero was somebody that last week in my transfer plans, I sort of debated about have I made a mistake bringing him in over a Crystal Palace defender. I still do feel that way for what it's worth, but obviously Leeds, even though it's away from home, I'm just going to start him. Like I said, I've got other problems to worry about with Gabriel. So, yeah, Romero is going to make up the back 4, and that will be my defence for this week. Could be a few changes there. Obviously, I've got Joachim Andersen on the bench now. I could bring him in for Gabriel, but we're going to talk about that in the next section on my transfer plans. We've got 4 in the midfield. So, currently, I'm starting Moises Caicedo. And the reason why I've gone for Caicedo over Andersen at the moment is in this game against Liverpool, I'd expect Caicedo to hit Defcon. So that's 2 points for playing, 2 points for Defcon, which is a 4-point ceiling at the bare minimum. Joachim Andersen's got Bournemouth on the opening game week on Friday. It's not to say that he could definitely get the 2 points for playing and 2 points for Defcon, but my thing is, if there's anyone who's going to score 2 goals, Bournemouth at home have definitely got that chance. So it's only small gains. It's that literally a point game where Andersen could get 3, Caicedo could get 4, but I think Caicedo's 4 is almost a lock, and I'm just happy to take that. So he's starting currently for me in the midfield. Tajani Reinders against Brentford. Like I said, I do expect Man City to put up numbers in this. They are predicted to score at least 2 goals in this game, and I do expect him to hopefully get in part of the action. So he'll be starting in the midfield. Bruno Fernandes, like I said, this might be his last week for me, depending on how he plays, depending on what happens with the penalty situation. I'm going to wait and see. I don't like him playing in the central midfield as much as I like him in the 10. But like I said, if he's lost penalties now, then for me, he's an absolute sell. So we're going to have to wait and see on this one. We'll have to wait for Man United to get another penalty first to find out. But I am watching him very closely. And of course, Semenyo, my most prolific midfielder so far this season, has got Fulham at home on the Friday night. So I'm happy to keep him in there. I'd imagine he'd still be on penalties even if Kluivert's on the pitch, but Kluivert never lost the 90 minutes anyway. Semenyo is just a 90-minute machine. He plays every minute of every game, and he's just in fantastic form at the moment. So, yeah, that completes the midfield. And then we've got the 2 up front, Victor Gyökeres and Erling Haaland. Debates about captaincy, maybe for some, not for me though. Erling Haaland will be taking that armband. I am hoping Victor Gyökeres for these next 5 weeks will get a run of games. It's worth me saying, though, that looking at this game against West Ham, if he blanks and he doesn't return, then I think that in my mind that there's a real chance that I move him out to Mateta next week after the international break. So it's the same as Bruno Fernandes. I'm keeping an eye on a few players that are at a very high price point, but maybe not delivering at the moment. So yeah, I'm hoping Victor Gyökeres, the reason why I brought him in is for these next sort of 4 or 5 weeks. So we'll have to wait and see how he gets on. But that is what my team is looking like currently. My transfer plans for this week, like I said, if Gabriel's fit and we find out he's playing on Friday, this will be the team it is, and I'll just roll the transfer. If he's not and he's out, there is a world that I potentially move Joachim Andersen down to either a Sunderland defender or move him to a Crystal Palace defender, i.e. Chris Richards, Mark Gahey. So I'm thinking about bench boost, obviously, in game week 8 after the international break. That is one of my windows that I was looking at. Obviously, Burnley got a good fixture, and so does Sunderland, which is why I kind of want to own a Mukiele or an Alderate. So that is something that I'm considering. Obviously, I would need them to play this week as well, which is the other thing, because obviously if Gabriel's out, I'm going to need that first sub to come in. So yeah, there's a little bit of contemplation in my mind. I'm going to wait and see tomorrow what Arteta says in the press conference, and then we'll make a decision on that afterwards. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. If you guys got any questions you want answered before the deadline, feel free to stick it in the comments, or hit me up on X. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below as well. If you haven't joined my league yet as well, I'll also leave a link to that. The code is on screen in the left corner somewhere as you're seeing this. So yeah, make sure you jump into that league. We're just trying to grow it and just trying to get as many people in there. But as always, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate all the love and support over the last few weeks on these videos. I've been trying to get the content out as quickly as I can for you guys. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you're enjoying it. But as always, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have a great game week, and I'll catch you guys next time.